Members of council, can you take your seat, please? Good morning. I will call this Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, May 13th to order. Mr. Clerk, could you do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Electronic roll call is starting now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have quorum. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Mr. Clerk, online. I see none in the room, so we'll move on. Members of council, not only is it National Police Week, and I do want to recognize that today, but today we have a group of people in the audience that are joining us today, and they're part of our HR team. I want you to know how much we appreciate the work you do behind the scenes each and every day to make Durham one of the most amazing places to live. And I am honored and pleased to share with Durham Region's Human Resource Team from the Corporate Services Department that they have been named the 2026 Leading HR Team list by Canadian HR Reporter. Members of council, let's give them a round of applause. The team was recognized for the significant enhancements to our recruit initiatives, the modernization of our learning and development offerings, and the meaningful implementation of changes to the human resource policy and practice through the equity audit. This includes the launch of hiring manager certification program, an equivalency matrix, and equity-informed toolkit to better support people leaders across this organization. This national recognition is a direct result of the dedication, expertise, and commitment of our HR resource professionals. On behalf of Regional Council, thank you for the impact you continue to make for our organization, our community, and I'm pleased to share with you today how much we truly appreciate the work you do. Members of council, I think one more round of applause is in order. And now I'm going to give you an opportunity that I don't have. If you would like to leave or stay, it is your opportunity to do that. But if you would like to leave, we'll give you a couple minutes to exit the room. Now, members of council, would normally go into presentations. Councillor Chapman, can you give me a motion to alter the agenda to bring correspondence forward now? Oh, sorry. Just give me a minute. Cynthia Davis is just walking in now, so, So, good morning, and not to put you on the hot seat, but Cynthia, you're next. And President of CEO Lakeridge Health, Chris Squire, Health Systems Executive from Finance Lakeridge Health, and Nancy Shaw, Senior Director Public Affairs, are in the room with us today. And when you're ready, please start.
Chris Squire, actually, our CFO, couldn't join us today, so I'm joined by Trevor Stewart, who is our Chief Development Officer. And I think we have a slide deck. Yeah. And so, it's interesting because as I'm scurrying to get in here on time today, I think about the region and I think about Lakeridge Health in parallels. We are really a regional system of integrated care. And we launched a program over the past couple of months called This is Lakeridge Health. And it really is to highlight who we are. And we describe ourselves as more than a hospital. And the work that we do, you can see, extends throughout the Durham region. And as we think about our plans to move forward within our new strategic plan, we're really thinking about those interconnected care models, and that how we want to bridge the gap between what we provide and what we know are the growing needs within Durham Region. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the financial situation of health. You hear it a lot in the media, and I just wanted to share with you some of the initiatives that we've been involved in. We've taken part in a benchmarking exercise, our third time actually this past year. And so far, through efficiencies and comparing ourselves to our peer benchmarking hospitals and health networks, we've saved about $20 million. And just really proud of the stabilization that we've done in terms of eliminating agency nurses and then in parallel reducing our overtime costs. But as I think about the future and the challenges that we have, there's more to be done in this space. We often describe that healthcare is one of the biggest costs. It's also unsustainable in terms of the model that we have. And for us at Lakeridge Health, we really see that we're well positioned to think about how we can leverage everything that we have. And rather than duplication, we really want to think about where our centers of excellence would be, how we can support that. And ultimately, we want to create the best system for Durham Region. This year, through efficiencies, we think we're going to save about another $11 million. But we need to think about new models and innovation and technology, and that's certainly what our strat plan talks about. The other thing that I know is a hot topic that you hear a lot about is emergency care. And I know that as elected officials, you will continue to see the individuals who come forward with concerns. And I would say if that happens, please send them our way. We have a system to deal with concerns. But we've done tremendous work in this space over the past 3 years. So we talk about emerge kind of as a flow issue, both within our emergency departments, but also on the backside in terms of when people need admission to hospital. And, I'll do a shout out to our provincial government in terms of the funding that they've given us to improve space and care for alternate level of care patients. So through no fault of their own, they're in hospital. They take up a considerable amount of resources, and they're best served somewhere else. And through a number of initiatives, we've actually gone from 30% to 10%. And what that has meant is we've had more acute care bed capacity, and then ultimately we've been able to improve our flow within our emergency department and throughout our whole system. And so specifically on our emergency department, we've been looking at long waits, so how long people wait, and what are the actions that we can take to improve the flow and the management of care within our emergency department. So we've done a lot of work around capacity and demand, trying to match our staffing levels with the arrival patterns of people. And I know that many of you would be aware you can go on our website and see the wait times for all 4 of our emergency departments. If I can just share with you, so we've done some significant improvements, and these would be all publicly reported metrics as well as ones we have to do within our provincial framework. We've seen a 36% reduction in our length of stay, so that's how long people are waiting. We've seen a reduction in terms of how quickly we can get people in front of a provider. And then the important one that I know for the region and for your elected officials is really that ambulance offload. And we have cut the ambulance offload in half. We've gone from 42 to 21 minutes, and the provincial benchmark is 30. And I just want to extend thanks and appreciation to the regional paramedic services and the leadership. We have worked collectively to understand what were the flow issues, what were some of the challenges and barriers through funding from the region, the provincial government, and Lakeridge Health. I'm really proud of this work. It means we can get people back out on the road sooner. And as I said before, all of these things have allowed us to see about 270 more patients a month within our beds at Lakeridge Health without any increase in costs. So that's the type of efficiency that we need to look at. And people say, well, what about the quality of care? The quality of care is not necessarily linked to the amount of money that we have, and sometimes the efficiencies actually influence the quality of care. So those metrics are ones that we're measuring too. Care close to home is really important, and you can see the volume of activity that we've done. And I'll just highlight the new facility, Jerry Coughlin Health and Wellness Center in Pickering actually allowed us to do 10,000 more procedures. So we're outperforming our peers in terms of surgical activity and volume. And what's interesting is we actually see a lot of referrals coming into Lake Ridge Health from Central East, other facilities that may be challenged in terms of health human resources. And fortunately, we don't have those challenges. And I would say that part of the reason why we don't have the challenges is we're fortunate again to have, 4 colleges and universities within our catchment area. And this one is related to our partnership with Queen's University for the Family Medicine program. We're now in year 3, which means we have 60 students that are training to become family physicians. September is not that far away. We'll have another cohort of 20. We'll be at 80. When we're at full capacity, we'll have 120 students every year right here in Durham training to become family physicians. And we think this is the pipeline of the future. And one of the things that really sets us apart in terms of our ability to attract and retain people and our commitment to training the healthcare professionals of the future. So you would know, as many of you in this room, the tremendous ambitious plans we have for growth. And I want to take the opportunity to extend both to the municipalities and the region your tremendous support financially that you have given us as we think about the projects that are moving forward. So we're in stage 3 of redevelopment of our Bowmanville Hospital. The contract will be awarded, we anticipate, in the fall, and then shortly thereafter, we'll start more detailed plans to move forward with Bowmanville. We also have the plans for complex continuing care in Pickering, new hospital in Whitby, tertiary, so those specialized services where we can in Oshawa and Pickering. And then the other thing I want to extend my thanks and appreciation for, not only in terms of the finances, but the overall commitment that we have received every time we talk about our plans to imagine mental health and addiction services differently for Durham Region. So I shared with you the tremendous work that we've done in our emergency department. We actually feel that we're at a place that now we can start to think about specialized streams within our emergency care. And mental health and addictions is one of them. The next one for us will be pediatrics. But this one requires a different way of thinking, where we have a proposal before government to have a hub and spoke model where our Oshawa location would be the center for emergency and urgent care for mental health and addictions. And that we would actually provide services throughout the whole Durham region, either through mobile services or permanent locations. And again, I want to extend my thanks. I know the region has committed funding for us in terms of adding weight and strength to our proposal. And many people in this room have helped us. And I would say, let's continue to do this. It takes a number of people to be advocating in the same direction. The one thing I'll share with you is we opened a bridging clinic, a soft launch on April 1st, and that was through the development with our partners at the Center for Addictions and Mental Health, CAMH. And this is a clinic so that when somebody comes to our emergency departments, any of them, or are admitted to an inpatient bed, we actually do a soft handoff to this bridging clinic, and it's meant to help people transition from those locations till they can get connected or reconnected with a provider in the community, either through our services or something else. But it is a handoff that's soft and gives people a landing pad so that we can help them when they're in crisis. I'm really proud of this work. On May the 6th, we actually launched our first procedures at Grandview Kids. This was in partnership with Grandview and the Lake Ridge Health Foundation, which raised $1 million to outfit procedure room at Grandview. We have it outfitted as if we were running an OR in any of our facilities. We also have adjacent rooms where there's recovery space that would be consistent with our intensive care equipment and locations throughout Lake Ridge Health as well. So this is called the Grandview Anesthetic Procedure Clinic, the GAP Clinic. And essentially what we're doing is we're bringing our team, anesthesiology, the OR team, the recovery team to Grandview, and with their physicians, we're actually providing sedation for kids to undergo procedures. We're starting slow, but we see the possibilities as endless. And we know that kids are going to do better in spaces that they're comfortable with providers and their parents with them. And we're just really proud of this and see a bright future for this continuing. As I mentioned, we're thinking about our strat plan, which is going to launch in June at our AGM. Our board committed to the vision of that one system best health continuing for the next 5 years. But what you'll see is we're focusing on innovation and technology. We're advancing our support for research and education. And again, we believe that that's the future for us in terms of not only the talent, but also the knowledge and the changes that are happening. We'll focus on our people, as we always do, because in a competitive market, we need to think about not only attracting people, but keeping them. And then the other one is the piece that I talked about in terms of exceptional care within Durham Region. So not only the facilities that we're talking about, but closing that gap on why people leave the region and how we can advance bringing some of those services to Durham. We've held a number of events on the health side, particularly for women. In our health equity plan, we talk about where we need to reach out with intention. So for 2 years now, we've held a women event. We've had almost 1,000 people attend, where our providers within Lake Ridge talk about women's health-related issues, and I know a number of people in this room have attended. And we're going to continue with that. But what we've seen is overwhelming response. So we're getting ready to launch something that will happen year-round in terms of engagement for women's health issues. It's going to launch on May the 23rd. And I'd ask you, if you have an opportunity to scan this or come to our website, share it with your constituents and colleagues. There's going to be an opportunity for women to talk about issues that they're facing, and for our healthcare providers to share information, but also to answer their questions. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of councillors with questions. We'll start with Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Ms. Davis. I just want to start off by thanking you for not only an informative presentation, but frankly an inspiring one. So thank you for that. And secondly, just the way my life has gone, being an athlete my whole life and some other things, I've been a more frequent user of Lake Ridge Health than the average. And I'm here to say that I've never had a bad experience with reception. The nurses have always been incredibly professional and friendly, and I've always had the expert care that the doctors have provided. So maybe to counter the odd comment you might see on social media, I just want to put that out there today, and thank you to you and your team for all the great work that you do for our community. I just have one question. I was very impressed with your, I think it was the first slide where you said there were $20 million in savings. And additionally, I think it said you reduced the overtime from, I think it was 8% down to 3%. Is that the substantial reason for the $20 million, or can you share with us where you were also able to make some significant savings?
Yes, so those would have been contributing factors, and then a number of other ones. The one up above that was the agency nursing. And I'll just give you an example. When I arrived at Lake Ridge 5 years ago during the middle of the pandemic, I walked in the emergency department at Oshawa, and 70% of the staff in that location were agency. And so we were paying double the cost for agency staff. And you know, at the end of the day, people choose where they want to work. But we also know that when they show up for a shift and they don't have a commitment to us, and to the people we're serving. And I'm not saying they didn't, but it's a different mindset. It's really hard for us to change the culture in our organization. And so we recognize that in order for us to improve flow and access and wait time, all of that needed to be stabilized through our people. And that's what we focused on initially. So the other thing that you asked me in terms of what were the other things, some of it was ambulance offload. Some of it was also around how we managed overcapacity within our emergency department. So, you could walk into particularly Ajax and Oshawa, and you would see people everywhere. And so what we were doing is rather than trying to pull people up to the units as quickly as possible, we were in a holding pattern. So when we looked at it, we knew we could be way more efficient in terms of getting people up to the units, getting their beds cleaned quickly, getting people turned around, and all of that kind of contributed to that 20 million. I want to pause too and just say thank you for sharing your experience. I know that in our organization, we have committed staff, physicians, and volunteers who show up every day wanting to do their best. Sometimes, through no fault of their own, that doesn't happen. But as an organization, we're absolutely committed to making a difference to the people that show up. And when we hear concerns, we address them to the best of our ability. So what I would hope is that the message you can give your constituents is, Lake Ridge Health is committed to doing the best. And if you have concerns, I would encourage you to reach out to them because we really do want to hear from people so we can make improvements.
Thank you. And I guess through you, Chair, I'd like to follow up with one bit of encouragement. I know Mayor Carter has spearheaded a drive to get a separate mental health and addictions intake and treatment center. And to me, when you look at the amount of savings that can be obtained by getting EMS and police back on the road and all that means, I just think it's a tremendous initiative, and I really hope we're able to bring that forward. Thank you for your efforts towards that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I want to also thank you for spending some time with me in April and giving me a tour of the emergency services. I really appreciate it. I don't think you mentioned in your presentation about your ranking and how important the ranking is. Can you tell everyone about that?
Yeah, so we actually, those emerge metrics that I talked about, so, arrival patterns, how long people wait, there's a whole series of things that we have to report provincially. Before we started on this journey of improvement, we were in the 25th percentile. We've actually moved to the top 25th percentile. And what I challenge our team is we want to be number one in the province. And they tell me we're going to get there. And I'm just really proud of that work. So we did share it with Councillor Crawford because, again, you will hear your constituents talk about how bad emergency care is. It can be busy. And sometimes people have to wait. I know people wait when their triage scores, so how acute they are, deems that it's appropriate for them to wait. But overall, when we look at our performance, we're outperforming our peers, and we're just really proud of it. So thanks for reminding me.
Thank you, and congratulations on that. I thankfully haven't had to be in emergency as a patient for, I can't remember the last time I was there, but I did note that it was such a huge improvement in just the organization of the whole emergency waiting area. And I really want to acknowledge the fact that from the last visit that I was there to the visit that I went, I saw a massive improvement. And so I appreciate, it's hard to hear criticism, and it's hard to hear, because your job is hard. You're never going to be able to solve everybody's issues, but being able to listen and make those strategic moves to improve people's experience while they're there is noted. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that. And it's a result of years of work by dedicated teams. And the other thing I just want to say is you will hear kind of overcapacity emerge, emergencies being challenged. And I remember when I came back from the break for the winter break, in January, and so many organizations were talking about overcapacity and how hard it was in the emergency departments, and our team went, we didn't see that. And it was because of this flow that they have been working on for a number of years that really tries to quickly get people in the most appropriate space. So thank you for acknowledging that, and I will absolutely share it with the team members.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Foster.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got questions and a couple of comments that I'm going to throw in. Councillor Kerr, as we are all moving along that, that path in our lives, I can relate entirely to being a more frequent flyer. In terms of not being able to remember your last visit to the AR room, I can, and the experience was a very good experience. Cindy, I wonder, you were talking about the percentile move. Over how many years did you go from essentially the bottom, close to the bottom, to close to the top?
So it's been a 3-year journey for us, but consistently over this past year, we've been outperforming where we've been.
Okay, and you showed some metrics, they were year over year. If you looked at those at a longer term, similar to what you just described, and I know the pandemic sort of screws all the numbers up, but longer term, beyond a 1-year period, what do the metrics look like?
So we're absolutely going in the right direction and continuing to see improvements. So we have, it's interesting because every year we would set targets for our performance. Some of those are provincially guided. Some of those are ones that we set internally. So when I say a bit jokingly, we want to move to number 1, what we're doing is we look at our performance for last year, and if we're at 21 minutes for ambulance offload, we'll probably try and reduce that by 5 or 10%, and we keep moving the target so that we can continue down that path of quality improvement.
That's great, and I will echo. You thanked us for leadership. We need to thank you for your leadership. The Queens, coming here and doctors, I think that is the most underreported massive win that we have had for Durham Region. Can you speak to that? Because that came together in like 9 months.
9 months.
So perhaps just how extraordinary that is.
So sometimes the stars align, both with urgency and with people. And so Dr. Jane Philpott was the Dean of the Health Sciences faculty at Queen's at the time when we started the dialogue. And you're absolutely right. From the time we got the letter in our hand till we had the first intake of students was 9 months, unheard of. And what's interesting for us is in our strategic plan, we talk about the fact that the humbleness that we have actually needs to probably be toned down, and we need to be way more boastful about the innovative work that we're doing. I said at one point, we're just keeping our heads down and getting on with the stuff that we need to do, but people don't recognize the significant things that have happened in Durham Region, and part of that is us owning the message and the narrative. So what you'll see in our strat plan is really an engagement with our community more broadly to talk about the success that we've had, because that is a huge success story. And then what we're seeing is Queen's University and Mayor Carter in Oshawa, they've recently erected a sign in downtown Oshawa. They have plans to actually grow their footprint in Durham Region for the whole health science faculty. We've met with them and they talk about the postgraduate medical education. So those are the specialists that get trained, and really they want to leverage Durham Region as a place where that they can think about specialists as well. I mean, we have that already, but they see their growth very much tied to Durham Region, and so do we. So this is kind of a continuation of a really positive partnership.
So I would suggest, yes, you need to tone down the humility, which is a weird way of putting it, but please, and I personally know some of the individuals that were instrumental in bringing that. Mr. Chair, I don't know how we do it, but Durham Region needs to recognize these folks, I think, in a formal fashion. Bowmanville, you got to, I think we were hoping for you to be able to release something in the summer. You're now saying in the fall? well, we'll take it. It has taken so long for us to get here. You speak to thanking the province, and we need to thank the province when thanks is due, but you are running, as I believe, virtually, all of the, I'm going to call them foundations, but they're not foundations, across the province. You're still running a deficit. You've still got some serious financial issues, yes?
Yes, we absolutely do. So we finished in deficit last year. We're going to finish in deficit this year. When I talked about the benchmarking that we've done, so we belong to a cluster called Large Community Hospitals. That benchmarking that compared us to our peers, and I think there was about 25 in the category, we were the second most efficient organization in our peer grouping. And so what we talked about is we need to come to the table doing everything that we can around our performance, and we've done that. I said before, I think healthcare is unsustainable in terms of the models that we have. And if the provincial government was to write us a check today, it would solve the problems of today, but not our future. We have to think about what's happening in terms of an aging population, more chronic disease, less people working. And so what you saw in those themes that we're going to focus on is really about new models of care. And some of that we've already started, virtual care. The other piece is around technology and how we can leverage technology to support our people to be actually delivering human care as opposed to managing the technology. And then how can we leverage our workforce in that way? So we're really looking with the province, with Ontario Hospital Association, and with our community partners to start to think differently and to think more broadly for the future. I've been a nurse for over 35 years. There's no doubt that in the next 5 years, what we're seeing on the horizon for changes in technology and AI are going to drastically improve the quality of care, but also change the way we deliver the care. So we're going to embrace this and bring our teams with us.
Okay, thank you. And last question, in terms of things that we can do. So I had a chat with Bill the other day, the new incoming chair, and I appreciate to my colleagues how easy it is for me to make this statement because the Bowmanville Hospital, finally is going to be built. But I heard a phrase I haven't heard in a couple of years, and that was the province frequently hates coming, and this is not the politicians, to Durham because we all tend to be very parochial in our demand. It's difficult to work with the region. Can you speak to, or is it too early to speak to, trying to bring the foundation together so we've got a more Durham-centric view? Instead of all of us competing, we are perhaps working together.
Yeah, so maybe I can comment on that and then I'll talk about the foundations. So again, as I was running in and a little short of breath, I apologize when I started. There's so much parallels to the Durham region and us. And I want to take the opportunity to thank Chair Henry. You have really, fostered that relationship of collaboration and listening to opinions that may be different, but at the same time trying to come out with a collective voice. And I think that's really important because we're disadvantaged if we don't do that. If we compete amongst ourselves. And for me, when I came to Lake Reach Health, the interesting thing was, that analogy, just put your head down and get on with it, because we didn't need to compete with anybody. We were it. It lied with us to find the solutions and a better way of doing things, and that's what we got on with. And I think at a regional level, the more that we can come together and have those conversations and support each other, even though it might not necessarily align with what you want individually, what we're trying to build collectively for Durham Region is something so special. I don't think you're going to see it anywhere. And again, Chair Henry, thank you so much. Our foundations, though, so we've done a review of our foundations because when I talk about that master plan and the local share, the number is staggering. And not only in terms of what we have to raise for local share, but it just our annual equipment capital costs. Nothing in healthcare when it comes to equipment is cheap. So we've had somebody work with us for a number of years to advise us, do we have the right structures and processes in place to actually help us be successful? Both on every single project, but also our broad, bold vision. And so most recently, we've hired a chief philanthropy officer that's really now working with the 4 foundations and a direct report into my office to think about how we think about philanthropy at a regional level that's very broad. That isn't kind of that local hospital, but it's based on big programs and services like cancer, mental health and addictions, and a number of other ones. And so we're putting the structures in place to be able to support that at a regional level and then think about what the role of the foundations are at a local level. And that came about for a whole host of reasons. But the other thing is when we go to some of the big developers, the banks, the big companies, they say, you know, we want you to come with one ask. And we want to know what that one ask is, but we want to know what the big picture is so that we can align our priorities with some of your needs. And our feedback so far, even as we've started to do this work, has been very positive. And when I talk about our strat plan then, that's going to lead us for the next 5 years, our philanthropic plan is very much going to align to that, but it's not that we're implementing the strat plan. It's what is the intention, the purpose, and the impact that people that donate to us can potentially have. So, you know, there's more to come on this, but again, we're making some changes to really put us in a place that we can compete with others, because you will hear 50 million, 40 million, you know, further west in terms of some of those big philanthropic gifts. And the biggest gift that we've had in the history of Lakeridge Health has been associated with the Jerry Coughlin Foundation.
So Cindy and Mr. Chair, I know I said last question, but you're talking about $50 million gifts. If you look at Bowmanville and the local share, because I don't think people appreciate how big it is and the needs moving forward as we're looking at the new hospital. So Bowmanville, which is, it's a big project, but not a huge project. Could you give us a sense of what the expected local give is on that?
So because we're in the final stages of the RFP, I can't give you specifics, but I can tell you,
range.
yes, I can tell you that, so phase 1 of our philanthropic plan that's now being developed, that would look at Bowmanville, complex continuing care in Pickering, mental health and addictions, and potentially looking at, can we do some service changes? We're targeting somewhere between 250 and 300 million that we would need to raise over the next 5 years.
And that doesn't include the new build.
That doesn't include the new hospital.
So I wanted to get that number out, Mr. Chair, so that people understood. And while Bowmanville is well advanced, they still have a long road to go. Cindy, for all that you've done, thank you ever so much. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Carter.
First of all, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Cindy. It's great to be able to see you. I want to just pick up on a couple of things. One is myself and Mr. Shaw had the opportunity to work with your staff just recently on about a 5-hour tour and conversation in regards to the mental health services that are connected through Lakeridge Health and the connectability of being able to take people from worst day to best day. Is there an opportunity that you could make available for this body to be able to have the same experience? I think even as much as I know about mental health, it helped me better understand all of the connection pieces, and I'm wondering if you would entertain that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the other thing is that if there was a way, and we talked about this, about showing some kind of a graph where members of council can actually see all the connectable services at what stage and how they all connect based upon the leadership of Lakeridge, that would also be helpful for our team. So I'd ask you to take that under consideration. The third thing, the numbers that you've shown me in regards to your slide deck in regards to the savings and efficiencies, one way or another, the province needs to see that Lakeridge has heard what concerns are coming out of the province, but at the same time, there has been aggressive movement and a business plan that has been put in place that is actually achieving these things. And I think that that'll help them maybe have an insight that maybe they don't have at this particular time. And I'd encourage you to do so, because I think it's really important. Even the numbers that I saw this morning are quite impressive. And so way to go on that. The fourth thing is you talk about the emergency room and how the emergency room is used. And again, on our visit on that particular day, it was a busy day as usual, but it seemed that the flow was working really, really well. Which goes to the question about geriatric care. What more do we need to do prior to them ending up at your doorstep? What do we need to do as a community to be able to address geriatric care? Is there an investment that's necessary or needed outside of the hospital to be able to help elderly people get care prior to them coming to an emergency room, which is now an emergency?
So it's a good question. And so when we talk about the growth that's going to happen in Durham Region with the population doubling, what we also need to add to that is the highest growth within an age category is going to be seniors.
Yeah.
And so, and then the other piece is the chronic disease. So as you age, the likelihood of chronic disease is going to continue and to grow because we have great treatments and drugs and people live longer, but they're sicker. The way that we help people is to have them connected to primary care. That's the number one thing. And so that has, it has an impact on the emergency department. But if we can keep people healthy and well in their communities through having a consistent provider, that's going to keep them at a hospital and in their homes. The other thing that we've done when I've talked about the work around flow is that sometimes we have people come to hospital with an acute illness and they're not sick enough to be admitted to hospital, but they need support when they go home. So the hospital to home program and home care, and again, through the funding that we received, we now actually queue people up. So we say, to a home care agency, we are going to guarantee every day there's 2 people in Oshawa and 2 people in Ajax that can be discharged from our emergency department if you can provide intensive home care for a short period of time until we get them stabilized. So that's another really important component for us. And then when people get admitted to hospital, we've launched this program to hopefully get people not in a hospital gown and not in their pajamas, but up and mobile. One of the worst things that can happen for seniors is for them to come to hospital, get in their pajamas and lie in bed. It causes muscle wasting, a trajectory of physical and cognitive decline that sometimes is too hard to come back from. And so for us, those are kind of the strategies. On the community side, we're quite fortunate, actually. We've got some outpatient services, our geriatric assessment. But what we need to do, us in particular, is lean into what our other community partners can do, because there's so much work to go around. Where we have redundancy or duplication, we're trying to figure out, can we shift some of those things to the community? So when we talk about chronic disease, I know that we're going to focus on a couple things in this next couple of years, how we can better manage people in the community who suffer from congestive heart failure and chronic pulmonary disease, because we know that we can manage those in the community as opposed to hospital, but we need to make sure that we've got the right providers connected as well. So some of that work, and then the other one is diabetes. So those 3 categories, we're actually going to figure out who's doing this better in the community than we are, and how can we leverage both finances that we have, because we're prepared to shift them to the community, but also the activity as well.
How important is the community paramedicine program?
It's tremendously important to us. We're partners with paramedicine in terms of the whole healthcare network and system, and some of the paramedic outreach, particularly within the long-term care homes, has been a game changer for us, even within our own home that we own and operate, but also within the other long-term care homes in the region. So they will go in, assess the person, determine if there's something that they can do to support them in their location or if they need to be transported. But we've seen a significant drop in our emergency visits for long-term care with this outreach program with paramedicine.
Again, I congratulate you and your team for the work you're doing. I know it's a difficult job, and I know criticism comes easy and matter of fact, very frequent in regards to those that are dedicated to trying to provide these services. I guess my last question is, what role do we have through our Health and Social Services Department to be part of the solution in regards to addressing the complexities of what the hospital deals with, and what can we do more in regards to the advancement of trying to be part of the solution?
So thank you. And what I would again say, thank you across the board. There's no place that we go that people don't lean into this, you know, at the local, municipal, regional level to work in partnership. So I would say we need to continue to do what we're doing collectively together. When I talk about the redundancies, I think there's still more to be gained by us being around the table. And you ask, can we get a list of all those services that you provide in mental health and addictions? Absolutely. What would be interesting is to see that list across the whole region.
Yes.
Because we know that there are other agencies that are doing similar work. What we don't have, not yet, although we are going to get, is the central intake for mental health and addiction services so that you can be queued up to a number of agencies. But the more that we're around the table, I actually think that we'll find solutions around partnership and hopefully then leverage our resources, hopefully different as well, so that we avoid duplication and maybe, some organizations like ours could focus on something different if we know that there's a community agency that has capacity to do that. So the more we can be there and have that dialogue, I think there's opportunity still to be gained.
I have one last question for you, and it's more of a curiosity, Mr. Chairman. As you know, I struggle with the challenges of the opioid crisis in Oshawa and across Durham region. And there are days that I'm very optimistic that we're moving in the right direction, and there's other days that, I'll be very honest with you, not only frustrating, but to a point of depressed about where we are because of the impact. As a healthcare professional and what you're doing at Lake Ridge, are we ever going to get to a point where we see a pathway where we start to make inroads in regards to this severe healthcare crisis? Because I can speak on my behalf, and I know Marilyn could probably speak, or Sean, or anyone from Ajax. They can talk about the incredible impact it's had, not only economically, but public safety. And it's just, every day it seems like we're seeing the illness get worse and worse and worse. And for many of us, I was in Toronto yesterday with some mayors, and as much as we were there for the defense announcement, the subject matter of mental illness and addiction in our communities was the number one issue we talked about right there and then. And I think that all of us are starting to feel less optimistic that we're doing the right things to be able to address it. I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind commenting on that. I need some optimism.
Okay,
today.
so I have to be an optimist. This is a wicked big problem. And if there was a ready-made solution, people would have already done it. I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to you. If you're feeling less optimistic, pick up the phone and call us, because we're going to chat with you. We need you and others in this room to be with us on this big problem. So what we're going to try and do is as much as we can. And so you know that old saying, right? How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And that's what we have to do. Like, is it going to be this huge kind of big bang that sees the trajectory change on this? And I agree with you. Crisis in our society. I went to Vancouver a couple of years ago. Honestly, I was embarrassed I'm embarrassed when I go to Ottawa. I'm embarrassed when I drive up Oshawa, Simcoe. Like, we should and could be doing better in Canada. What it's going to require is a whole bunch of strategies. Like, we're part of this, but we're not the only part. When you think about the upstream, how do people end up in these circumstances? We have a program called Pathways to Care, and an outreach program with some of our schools in Durham region. I mean, we need to be in the school systems. We need to be talking about mental health. We need to be talking about addictions. Mental health starts in adolescence. It doesn't start when you see these people on the street. So we need to think about upstream. And I know Dr. Kyle sent me a message this morning. I mean, we need to be talking about this as public health issues. We need to be talking about, housing strategies, stability of housing, food security, economics. It's going to require a concerted effort. What I'm saying to you is we're so downstream in our system that we're going to do what we can, but it's going to take a collective. And again, 1 in 5 people, the likelihood that you've been touched personally, yourself, your friends, your family, your neighbor, your colleague, is pretty likely. And if people say that's not the case, then it's not truthful. It's prevalent everywhere. And so the solutions to this, as much as we're advocating for the emergency care and urgent care, is not going to be the one and done solution to this. We're going to require collective action across many different disciplines and departments.
I appreciate your frankness, and thank you for answering my question. I'd encourage those that can to reach out to Marshall Smith from Alberta. I spent quite a bit of time with him this week, but also there's a recovery conference that is September 1st to the 24th in Alberta, that all the top experts from North America will be there, and I think it would be a good use of individuals that want to attend that to attend it. Cindy, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, we are grateful for your leadership. Please pass on our best to your men and women that dedicate their lives to our care.
Thank
We
you.
really do appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Cynthia, for being here, and it's nice seeing you again. And just to expound on what Councillor Kerr said, the level of services and the quality of service is never in question. The number one concern I get, and here, is wait time. You alluded to the fact that when you took over, wait time was a lot worse. Do you know what the average wait time is currently now?
So I did share one of the wait times because there's a number of times that we track. So we track from the time somebody arrives in our emergency department till they're in front of our providers. So you would have seen the improvement in that. And then we track the whole time that people are in our emergency departments, both those that are in and need to be admitted to hospital and those that need to be discharged. We track, how quickly we get their diagnostics done, their lab results, how quickly they get medication, a whole host of things. So I don't know all of those off the top of my head, but I can tell you that on all of the metrics on wait time, we have improved. And this is where we've gone from that 25th bottom percentile to the top percentile.
Okay. You said you're striving to be number one. What
Yes.
does number one looks like?
The number one means that we will hit every single target that the province has set for us in terms of those metrics. Some of them are arrival times. Some of them are just the ambulance offload. So there would be a whole series of things, but it's the collective of all the metrics that we have to report in the province.
Okay. So to get there, I believe, I hope I stand corrected, we are the number one when it comes to growth in all of Ontario. How will you plan to reach number one and manage the growth that we are experiencing in Durham region?
So part of what this work has been around over this past 3 years has been a journey to look at the data and to really match the arrival patterns in our emergency department with how we staff, both on physicians, professional staff and support staff. So this is something that we look at all the time in terms of how many people are arriving at our doorstep. Do we have the right people in place based on these predictive patterns? And where and when do we need to add additional resources? So there's no doubt about it. This is not going to stay stagnant for us in terms of the need to add additional resources. And over the number of years that I've talked about, we absolutely have added more resources. And I'll just give you an example. In our emergency department in Oshawa, we had 11 positions that needed to be filled by physicians. Those have all been filled, and to a lesser extent in some of our other emergency departments. So making sure that we've got the right staff in place to manage the volume is something that we look at all the time.
Okay. How does it impact you for the number of folks that don't have family doctors? Would that...
So, you know, when people come to emergency department, it's interesting because a portion of those people actually have family doctors. So what we talk about is it's important to think about the family doctor access, not just on whether or not you have a family physician or, you know, a primary care network, but what are their hours of operation? What does the access look like? Because sometimes, you know, through no fault of your own, you work in a job that you can't go during the day. There's no after-hour clinics. You have to come to Emerge. So that's an important piece for us to think about. We've talked to, you know, when we launched this program with Queen's University, that we were estimating there was somewhere around 80,000 people in Durham region that didn't have a family physician. Through the work of our Durham OHT and our primary care network, we now think that number is somewhere just a little bit higher than 60,000. But there's a number of initiatives that are happening. And I know in Clarington, there's been an announcement of a family care team as well as North Durham. And we're looking at another one in Ajax. So work is happening at a provincial level. And again, Dr. Jane Philpott left Queen's University to lead the provincial initiative around primary care, with the goal to connect and have access to everybody in the province of Ontario to have access to primary care. So we're going to see 3 more come on site just in Durham region, and even more until we reach that target that everybody is connected.
Okay, so one last question, maybe a tough question. Of the 120 new family docs that's being trained here, what's your estimate? How much of those you think we will retain in Durham region?
So we don't know yet. It's an interesting question, and people ask me, you know, are they obligated to stay in Durham region? We debated that early on, if we wanted to have a reciprocal arrangement that, you know, we will do this, and in return, we expect you to stay for so many years in Durham region. Decided against it. But what we do know in terms of the research that's been done is that when people are a number of years doing their education and training in a location, particularly within the age bracket that these students are in, they are more likely to put down roots and stay in the place that they've been trained and educated. And that's really what we're hoping for. But it's more than hope. It's actually an intentional effort that's taking place to get people connected to the community. And again, I have to thank the region and everybody for all the support in this space. When we think about Docs for Durham, when we think about the funding that came forward for physician recruitment, all of that really is helping us not only attract family doctors, but get these students embedded in our communities. So far, we've had overwhelming positive feedback, but this is very much going to be studied, not only by us, but by universities and med schools, because this is the first time it's been done in Canada. And one of the physicians from Queen's who was early on in this work said to us, you know, if you wanted a convertible, you wouldn't put it on an assembly line of a truck. And so why should we think that when we train every single person in medicine the same way, we're going to get different outputs and results? And this program really is a different model of training. And so people are looking to us to see what the impact will be, but so far we don't know.
you have kind of answered my next question. It was, well, I was going to ask what could we do or what should we be doing to make sure they want to stay here. You can add to what you've said if
So
you
this
want.
region is beautiful. And so within a month of people starting in this program, we get them connected in the community. What I would say is that we need to continue to do the things that we're doing to support that engagement and to welcome these students to our community, because when they see the vibrancy of what's going on, whether it's in business, activities, tourism, it's a place that we want people to see has the opportunities for them to grow as a family or as a unit, whatever that might be, and to stay in Durham. So, and I know that there's been a number of events that have been hosted and attended by many of the people in this room. I would say continue to do that. You need to be the spokesperson for your communities to try and get people to stay.
Thank you very much and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Neal?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask, and thank you for your delegation through you, Women's College Hospital on Grenville in Toronto offers several specialized wellness and health programs, including the Wellness for Independent Seniors, the WISE program, the Power Over Pain portal for chronic pain, and women's virtual digital tools. Is there anything at Lake Ridge that is comparable to that?
I couldn't say specifically those programs, but what you would have heard me talk about is one of the directions that we're going to take with the launch of our new strategic plan is to look at what are the service gaps that we currently have and where can we actually fill those gaps and what people leave our region for. So we do have the data that shows us where people in Durham region go, both within our facilities and with facilities outside of our region, and we also know what they go for. So for us, we're trying to figure out how we can map out a plan to close that gap.
Okay, well, just follow up, because they used to have that program at Women's College Hospital, but for some reason that was canceled. It was a one-stop place for women to go to have everything done. But I don't think there's ever been a replacement in this area for anything like that. So I'm just bringing it up.
Thank you. And so
Thank you. And so what?
what I would say is
Well-
there's a number of care gaps in Durham region. We know the biggest one why people leave is cardiac care. So what we're trying to think about is how we can map this out and really plan strategically within our existing facilities, within our funding envelope to try and target some specific ones that are at the top of our list. Cardiac, vascular surgery are the two that come to mind, as well as advanced pediatrics.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Councillor McDougall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming today, Cynthia. You discussed possibly about engaging doctors to stay here, i.e. forced. That grabbed my attention because I think that as a professional engineer, I could have chose anywhere to live. I grew up here, but at the end of the day, I could have chose Canmore or Squamish or Hood River or you name it. But I chose to stay here. And when I think of my doctor friends that I might cycle with or windsurf with or whatever, they choose this location to live because of what we have. You mentioned about toning down your humility as a hospital. Do you think the region of Durham needs to tone down its humility in terms of what we offer?
I do. I think we have tons to offer. I mean, it's beautiful when you even just describe what you have. And, you know, we attend all of the annual lunches and breakfasts. The amount of growth that's happening in Durham region, the businesses that are coming, it really is a place that you can have what I would describe as a fulfilling career, at least in healthcare in Durham region, and you can have the added bonus of all the other things. So I think, you know, let's talk very proudly about who we are. And I often say it's not because we're perfect, we're not. What we are is reactionary, and we will be proactive in terms of trying to problem solve when people bring issues to us. But we should be so proud. And you know, I know even in our field, people come to Durham, they could have gone anywhere. The level of expertise and skill that we have in our healthcare professionals and service providers, we can compete with anybody. And we should be talking about that. You know, sometimes people say to me, oh, well, you know, this person bypassed Lake Ridge and they went to such and such a location. And I said, well, you know, it's lucky for us in Canada, we have that choice, and people will continue to have that choice. What I'm going to do is demonstrate that when you come to us, we're going to do as good or better than anybody else, and we're committed to that.
Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm proud as a resident of Durham, and I'm going to continue to fight for all of the things that I love because I think other people love them too. And in terms of just, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, whether it be the doctors head out for track day or golfing or whatever it is, but I want our communities to continue to offer that to attract not just professionals for you, but professionals across the board. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Mayor Pietri.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning. Just wanted to thank you very much for coming forward, as you always do, in a very positive way. And thank the board, each of the board members, many I know well, are doing a great job with you and the efforts that we're making to try to deal with growth and provide for service today. But long term, just wanted to ask a question through the chair. The efforts that you've made with us relating to Queens is very much appreciated. That's a long-term, perspective that I think everyone in the region appreciates. Just wanted to ask about the new hospital and how the outlook today is sort of shaping up. I think many residents, regardless of where they live, are looking forward to, the kind of healthcare that I know Lake Ridge is eager to provide by way of a new campus of that nature.
So thank you for the question. If I could go back to kind of our overall plan. Bowmanville Hospital is in phase 3. That hospital is expected to double in size, which will give us more bed capacity. The post-acute complex continuing care in Pickering, we talk about that's going to be hundreds of beds added to the system. And then the final one is the new hospital in Whitby. All of these things for us are in a sequence and cascade that we have submitted to government. It's very much in the queue. It's on track in terms of how it's moving forward. I know for some people it's not fast enough, but what I would say, particularly around the complex continuing care, that's a building that we've prioritized after Bowmanville, because to build a new hospital from the time the shovels go in the ground, a brand new one of the size we're talking about for Whitby is going to be about 10 years. The complex care right now, we probably have somewhere around 100 to 150 people scattered throughout all of our facilities that could be better served in that building. And so we can build it much faster. And if we can do that, we can actually move people to that location. And then that will free up acute care capacity in our existing sites so that we can continue to advance the Whitby new hospital. So for us, we're very much kind of feeling on track and support it at the provincial level for these projects to move forward. I'll share with you, because I said around pediatrics, the other thing that we know is in terms of pediatric care for people in the region, there is almost no options for complex care for kids or palliative care for children. And so within this new building, we're also talking about that. How could we actually have a dedicated wing to think about closing that gap as well? So, I feel like we're in the queue. Somebody asked me this week, is there anything that elected officials can do? At this point, I want to thank the elected officials, both at the municipal, regional, and provincial level, because everybody is supporting us. There's lots of ask, but we're okay with where we are in the queue.
Okay, and I guess I appreciate that, because the short answer is, we're driving. We just need, those who are making the decisions to jump on the bus and push it a little further. And I do believe that everyone is advocating the way they should, and even at the provincial level, there is an understanding of the needs here, and I'm confident and hopeful, optimistic as you are, to be able to hopefully get the product that we need for the region and for residents as a whole. On that basis, I just wanted to ask specific through you, Chair, for Oshawa, you see the expansions happening at Bowmanville. I see things happening throughout the region. You know, the kind of presentation, or I guess plan that you have is similar to the one that DRPS brought to us. If we do X, then Z will happen. But the Y in between is basically you're going to free up space. And being Nurses Week, I speak to many nurses, and the intensity in the Oshawa Hospital is real. Patients see it, nurses see it, doctors feel it. I know them very well, and just wondering what sort of prospects that would provide for Oshawa. What does that look like for the Oshawa Hospital campus if all of these other things happen in the interim as well as the long term?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've shared with this, with the regional council, but certainly I've talked about it in other settings. When we had our master plan originally developed in 2018, 2019, we were thinking about a huge mega hospital that would be located in Whitby that potentially would become the regional hub for all of Lake Ridge Health. That has changed because of a number of factors. Cost is one. The other thing is the developers have said they cannot do these mega projects anymore. There are selected people in the space of healthcare development, and to have two of the main developers tied up in projects that we see are taking place already, they have said to the province, we can't do this anymore. And at a provincial level, they've also said these big, ginormous locations are not what we're going to continue to support. So we've shifted. And then part of that shift was related to complex continuing care in Pickering. So originally, we were to build and have those co-located within this giant facility that we were proposing. I think it's the right decision. In actual fact, people in complex continuing care, this is their home. Like, we need to do purpose-built locations that provide, you know, recreation, outdoor space, the list goes on and on. This is where people will live and see their lives end for the most part. And to think that, you know, that needed to be in a hospital setting just didn't make sense. We can also do these things at different costs. So we're very supportive of that. The other thing that we've shifted then is to think about where the gaps are in terms of those, you know, specialized services, why people are leaving. And we had talked about, you know, would that Whitby location become a trauma center? And the discussion then is, well, you don't go from like nothing to a trauma center. You actually have to have all of these pieces of the puzzle that are built much sooner. And so for us, we know the gaps are cardiac care, vascular care, advanced pediatrics, and there are others, neurosurgery. So what we're going to try and do is figure out how we can move those into Oshawa location in particular sooner than later. And on advanced pediatrics and vascular, we can do that now without any capital outlay. So our intention is, while we're in this pattern of growth, that we're going to try and enhance the services, particularly in Oshawa and Ajax, so that we can think about bringing them sooner and not waiting for a new hospital. And again, all of that, when we work with our planners and our clinical team, is really seen as positive and closing that gap for both the growth and the gap in services that we have. You know, to your comment around the staff and that work in our organization, I mean, we have almost 9,000 people that show up every day to work in Lake Ridge Health, and who are dedicated, skilled, expert, you know, professionals or service providers. Sometimes our system gets in the way of them doing the best that they can, and all I can say is we're committed to trying building, you know, what we talk about, our people and our culture over the next 5 years too.
well, you let Dr. Richudo know I'm wearing his favorite socks, so that's one. I just wanted to ask a follow-up to that because it's encouraging to hear this. You're being very transparent with us through you, Chair. The reality was at one point X, and we're getting to the Z point, and the line between is people need it now. So the work that you're doing, I know that Mayor Carter's been through and he's been working with you extensively. I was listening to the meeting on the way in, and I heard, one of the remarks that you made about being embarrassed to go down Simcoe Street. I need you to expand on how Lakeridge Health will help us ensure that the people that are in need get the help, because DRPS is sure doing their part to make sure that some of the people that are preying on those people get off the streets and are dealt with differently. We need to restore order in this capacity. I get that other communities are experiencing similar, but the community that I represent is Oshawa, and I think Lakeridge Health has a huge part in being able to motivate the province and the federal government to be able to help us. So based on that, where do you see Lakeridge fitting into the equation so that we get the supports and help that we need to provide those in need, as well as the community and the families that want a safe environment, what it deserves in Canada?
So, through our Durham Mental Health Services, which is our community-based arm of mental health, we're actually in some of those locations in the downtown cores. And not only in Oshawa, but throughout the Durham region. So, we actually have care providers at Backdoor Mission. We have a number of staff that are located within the core, even within some of the shelters. We're also partnering with the Heart Hubs that we'll have 2 in Durham region. So one in Oshawa and one in Whitby. And those Heart Hubs really are for people that are unhoused, that may also be suffering from mental health and addiction. So our teams will be embedded in both of those Heart Hubs. And then the other part for us is that when, police and paramedicine need to bring people to a facility, our goal is that we will design a space that we can have an immediate handoff, particularly in Oshawa, of those providers to a direct care member, and that we can quickly put them back out on the road. So that's the kind of strategies that we're working on.
Okay, now just again, I want to be very, very positive and grateful for the efforts that you're making with our team. It's an initiative that I believe is going to transcend political terms and hopefully set the trend for Canadian healthcare, and that's the efforts that you're making with us and the Queen's Project. I want to thank you and the staff, the board, and everyone at Lakeridge Health. Right from the folks that are taking care of, the administrative part to the custodians, to the nurses and the doctors, everyone involved, because this is it's going to transform our community. Would you not say that project is a great help to the issues or the concerns or the impacts that some of what you discussed happening in other communities and ones that you see coming down Simcoe? Would you not say that project would be a great springboard into the kind of care that we need to be able to provide people to get back on their feet?
Absolutely. So one of the things, we've talked a lot about emergency care and wait times in Emerge and how many people are unattached in Durham region. I can tell you it's disproportionate for the people that live on the streets. So 28% of the people that come to our emergency department with mental health and addictions don't have a provider in the community. That's like way more than our general population. So through our partnership with Queen's University and actually, our ability to think about teaching units and where we go with intention around primary care. So there's so many primary care providers in Durham region. One of the things that we talk about is where do we need to go to close the gap? So it isn't that we need to set up a primary care team kind of anywhere throughout Durham region. We have to figure out what others are doing and where we need to go. And we absolutely see this as a population that we need to go to, and with intention different. And how can we leverage all of these students that are in this program to help us with this unattached population? So you heard me talk about the bridging clinic, But the other big piece for us is really around primary care and primary care access. And those are some of the conversations that we've been having with Queen's University, because they also have been approved for a clinical teaching unit, which is a bit different than a regular primary care team. And that really is around the affiliation with the university and to embed people that are in training within that teaching unit. And it needs to be primary care. And they've also designated Oshawa as the location. So for us, we're going to work with them to think, talk about who are the populations that come to our emergency department that don't have family doctors. And it doesn't matter how many we add, this is going to continue to be a challenge for this population. So we're going to target that one, and hopefully we'll make some inroads as well to help people get connected to a provider very intentionally.
That's excellent. Through you, Chair, I'm proud of our work. We're proud of our work, and I think it's going to be something that many are going to benefit from. So I want to thank you and the board and everyone involved with Lakeridge Health. Looking forward to that taking effect in very short order. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that exhausts everyone. With questions, I have a couple. I'm not sure if you know that Sheila Hall will be here at our next committee of the whole meeting to talk about Docs for Durham. So I'm excited about that. Members of Council, I've had the privilege to meet almost every one of these young men and women who have chosen to come to Durham Region to learn medicine through Lakeridge Health, and they just don't come from Durham Region. They come from across Canada, and that's their choice to come to a facility that has a reputation like Lakeridge Health. My bad day was October 17th. I sent you a letter. Thank you. I'm here today because of Lakeridge Health. But a few minutes ago, you referenced you couldn't fix mental health and addiction with a big bang. And I'm going to say it could be fixed. I don't think I have ever read, or Mayor Carter, help me, because you read far more about mental health than I have, that the cost has been quantified across this country for the challenges of mental health addiction and homelessness. And if the cost was collected and presented in such a way, maybe the government would realize that a problem of this on the national level, such as mental health addiction and homelessness, could be treated, first of all, with that big bang, which would take a meeting in Ottawa, similar to what they did with auto theft. How we could talk about how we resolve this using the best practices of communities across this country. And that starts simply with a big bang and a conversation. I think it can happen. Mayor Carter, you've been advocating for that for as long as I can remember. And it's something that needs to happen. To you and your team at Lakeridge Health, you've heard council say thank you. You operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Similar to paramedics, police, fire, long-term care, our water treatment plants, our wastewater plants. But your staff come to work on birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, nights and weekends, and they're never truly thanked for their service. It's not an easy job to be away from your family on important days in their lives. So on behalf of council, to you and your team, thank you. On behalf of council, the work that you've done with our paramedics to get ambulances out the door to serve our residents has been outstanding. And on behalf of all of us and our team here at the region, I want to say thank you. I'm also going to offer you the opportunity to stay for the rest of the morning if you like, or if you choose to leave, feel free to take leave and go back and continue the great work that you do to make Durham one of the greatest places in Canada to live.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, break? Members of council, we've got a long agenda. Could I get a motion for a short recess, no longer than 15 minutes? Moved by Mayor Foster, second by Councillor Penttingale. Penttingale. On a 15-minute recess. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, we are in recess. Oh, sorry, Mayor Carter, you just popped up on my screen.
Sorry about that. I know that myself, Willie, and Sean are in interviews this morning that start around 11:45. So I know that I have to excuse myself from the meeting, and I believe we'll be working upstairs in regards to these interviews. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. It's nothing to do with the flow of the meeting or anything like that. It's that we
You're
have
still
to-
on regional business.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank
Mayor
you.
Collier?
Thank you, Chair, and just further to Mayor Carter's comments, yes, we're all going to be going through the DC interviews today. I just wanted to ask, when we reconvene, would it be possible to bring forward report 2026 Cal 29? I had comments on that and would like to speak to it before we go. If we can't, it's fine, but
Okay, wait a second.
if we could reorganize the agenda to accommodate would be helpful, thank you.
So, but what you're asking for.
Sorry. It's the hotel,
Yeah,
hotel
so-
development charge deferral program.
So it would be 7.7.
Yes.
So, Councillor Wu, you're going to the other meeting as well, right?
Councillor Wu, Mayor Carter, and myself.
Yeah, so that's fine. The clerk has noted that. So what you're asking for, Mayor Collier, is, Mr. Clerk, I hadn't called the vote on. But in order to. So we can, are you okay? Do you need the order changed now, or would you like the order to make this the first item after we break?
That was my request after the break. Thank you, Chair.
Then I will come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the recess, we call the vote, and we're. Okay. Yeah, I'm just calling the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, we'll return in 15 minutes. Council, can you take your seats, please? I'll call this meeting back to order. Mr. Clerk, if you could do a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Electronic roll call is starting now.
Okay, we have quorum. Members of council, during the break, Councillor Wu came forward as well. So we have two items that we're going to need to bring forward. I'll do them one at a time. Mayor Collier, you'd like to bring the report number 29 forward? Yes. So I need a motion to alter the agenda to bring item 7.7 forward, moved by Mayor Collier, seconded by Councillor Wu. On bringing the item forward, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to do 8.2 now at the same time, so we can do one right after the other. Councillor Wu, you asked to bring motion 8.2 forward. I need to alter the agenda to do that immediately after 7.7. Moved by Councillor Wu, seconded by Councillor Shahid. On bringing 8.2 forward, all those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none. Okay, item 7.7, Mr. Clerk, we need a mover and a seconder to get it onto the floor. Moved by Mayor Collier, seconded by Councillor Pentangale. The item is now on the floor. Go ahead, Mayor Collier.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate saying this here today. I reached out to the CEO a few months ago about this, and I believe another municipality did as well. So really happy to see this brought forward today by the Commissioner of Finance. It's now been about a year since Bill 17 was passed in June 2025 and the implementation of the Ontario Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act 2025. And while DC deferrals to occupancy were previously only available for rental housing, Bill 17, as you probably all know, expanded this to all non-rental residential developments. But development in any form are at a standstill right now, and we need to recognize this and pivot. So I think this is very timely. I have a question for the Commissioner, and I just wonder, is there any restriction in the Act that restricts the region from allowing DC deferral on all commercial classes? Because this is just for hotel.
So through the chair, not that I'm aware of, and I've got a head nod from my colleague in legal as well.
Okay, that was my understanding. I just wanted to absolutely confirm. So thank you. I guess I want to talk a little bit about, this is great and I fully support it. Thank you for bringing it forward, but I believe we have to go further. And I want to talk a little bit about that and this report, and not to go further today, but just sort of think outside the box a little bit. By expanding DC deferral to include hotels, I expect this will help get shovels in the ground. I hope it will in Ajax, and I don't know what the other municipality is, but I hope it will. But I really think we need to look seriously at expanding DC deferral to all forms of development, at least for the short term, probably 1 or 2 years. I look at this as we're starting at zero. We're not receiving any DCs now, and we're not receiving any property taxes now. And that's going to continue until market conditions change, until banks open up and start lending again, until prices start coming down, until this war in Iran is over, and fuel prices, it can go on for a long time. But the bottom line is, with Bill 17 as well, we're not going to get any DCs on residents or anything for at least 3 to 5 years, even if projects started today through residential development. So really, the only thing we're losing by deferring is the interest on that money, because usually DCs are payable when permit is pulled. Now it's payable on occupancy. We're going to lose that 3 or 4 years of interest payment. But we don't have it anyway. At the same time, if we do this today and expand it to other classes, maybe, not all, but we can incent other developers to get shovels in the ground. And those property taxes that we're going to receive sooner rather than later are going to far exceed any interest payments that we're going to forego in the interim. I just want to sort of plant the seed and let council know, because this is coming to our council on June 1st, and my council doesn't even know yet. I've been working with staff on the next step in this, and that is allowing DC deferrals on all classes up to about 15 years. And the math works. And I won't bore you with it today, because I plan, once we pass it on June 1st, I want to bring it to this council and then at the next Cal meeting in June. But the act right now allows us to defer, and then once occupancy, I think they can defer further up to another 6 years with interest applied at the time by making even payments. We have the ability through Section 27 to go further. And I just chose 15 years because that is what we're working with on for a couple of developments in Ajax. But this allows several things. CMHC is not providing funding at approved levels now for purpose-built rental because rents prices are coming down. We require an Ajax affordable component of at least 5 to 10%, and they factor that in. So if you apply for $300 million of CMHC, they're giving you maybe 275. That shortfall, the developer now has to try and build in. In some cases, it stalls the project for up to a year in some cases. By doing this, it can assist and fill that gap and help it move forward, and it is in our case. So I just wanted to sort of take this opportunity to, one, say thank you for bringing this hotel one forward, and absolutely I'm going to support it, but two, just to kind of give a heads up and plant the seeds of let's think a little more outside the box. There are other things that we can do, which I think once those property taxes are generated will more than make up the difference. Thank you for your time today, Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Roy?
Thank you very much, and I'm going to echo just a little bit what Mayor Collier just shared, and the other municipality is Whitby, and we have just passed this at our council as well too at the local level, but I'm going to tell you it works. I've already toured 3 hotel firms around Whitby to show them what we have, and where they would have not given consideration to a community just because of the economic times. We did a strategy as well too, and it is proven that there's proof in the pudding that we do have the numbers to solidify and to support this. They know the requirements of what is needed in terms of the timelines, and within that commitment and the timelines, it enables not only just the build and the growth. This is also a partnership with our local college as well too. Our local college president is very enthused, excited about this, because with this, it also supports their hospitality program and the growth of that. But this also supports not only through the property taxes that will come into place. We also need to remind residents that this is not, that we are not having the residents pay for this. This is something that is going to be paid for through DCs. It's not expected to be paid through for the property tax. It will be through the development charges. But ultimately, we will also get our MAT tax support as well too, which helps with the tourism and offsets in those areas as well too. And we've seen quite the success within Whitby, and I know neighboring municipalities also have the same success with the MAT tax, which is another revenue form for to help offset property tax. So I want to thank the staff for putting this together and to bringing it forward. And I'm going to ask all of council to support this because it is a good initiative and one that we are already seeing success with it.
Okay. Mayor Job.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you. Generally, I do support this. I did have many questions in regard to the retail use, and thank you to Mayor Collier for bringing forward the opportunity to further expand this. Where I do have a problem, and I'm going to propose an amendment, is financially committing a new council. So this date goes into the new term of council. So my amendment will be that this ends at this term of council, and immediately a memo brought forward for an extension from the new term of council if they want to continue this. So is that well, this is going, so we're going to, if we approve this, we're financial committing a new council. Am I correct? Because this is going to July 1st into the new term.
Mr. Clerk?
Is that correct?
They're allowed to do that, yes. You can make a financial commitment that extends to a future year, but maybe Nicole has anything to add to that.
I'll go to our Commissioner of Finance.
So I guess what I would say is we have numerous programs like the Industrial DC Deferral Program is the other example that
comes to mind immediately, where these programs do stretch into the new council. When we established the end date of July 1st, 2027, it was actually to bring it back to the new council, to give that new council an opportunity to consider whether it made sense to expand or to extend the program, or whether to wrap it up. We chose the July date to give time for the development community to respond to it, and also for the new council to come into being and receive their briefings, and then fairly early in the term reflect on this policy.
So there was no seconder for your amendment, so.
Okay, no, that's fine. That actually helps clarify that this is actually strategic to the new council. So I'll go along with that. Thank you so much.
Okay, and Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So fully supportive of this, fully supportive of looking outside of the box. Here comes the but. You know, the urban myth that exists out there is that development charges are a source of revenue. You know, I'll suggest we had a couple of reports at Clarington where we are doing a fiscal impact analysis both on development charges and on taxes. Depending on the nature of development charges that need to be put in the ground, you could have a really, really expensive project where, in fact, taxpayers are subsidizing the project. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, but when we take a look at that, and I'll be interested to see Ajax's report, but development charges cover costs. They're not a source of revenue. So if you're not collecting development charges, it's because you are not spending money. And the same on property taxes. We all see social media where, you know, they built 500 new houses and we're all swimming in money because of those property taxes. And the same here, property taxes support services required for those things coming in. So I support this fully, but I am concerned how we frame things. And again, when we look at financial impact analysis. So in the report to Clarington on potential future development, the reality is taxpayers will be paying for some growth, and we've quantified that as best we can. We're not going to stop it because we need and want the growth. And on the property tax, there may be a slight, I'll look at Councillor Anderson and Councillor Wu. I think that was Silver Creek. It was like $5 a household. There might have been a surplus. But we've got to be careful that we do not promote that urban myth. Thank you.
Okay. That exhausts the speakers list. Mr. Clerk, I'm going to call for a recorded vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on the item is starting now. Looking for Councillors Crawford and Leahy online. Second call, Councillor Leahy online. Last call, Councillor Leahy online.
Members of council, that is carried unanimously. Next, we'll move on to item 8.2, the motion regarding Chinese Heritage Month. Councillor Wu, you're prepared to move forward with this? And your seconder is?
I did have Councillor Sterling Lee from Ajax as the seconder.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, it's been moved and seconded.
Well, in keeping with the motion that I have for it, I think it's only appropriate that my seconder is Sterling Lee.
I know, Councillor, I know you're tight for time. Would you like to just get into this, please?
Well, if I can, and again, without reading the motion, it is pretty self-explanatory, but I am honored to bring forward this motion calling on the Parliament of Canada to establish a Canadian Chinese Heritage Month, recognizing the cultural and historical contributions of the Chinese community. And just a little history. My father came to this country in 1911 and paid the Chinese head tax of $500, an amount that would have been probably a substantial down payment at that particular time in Vancouver. That's the equivalent of $18,000 now. $18,000 wouldn't give you that down payment in Vancouver. Due to the Chinese Immigration Act, or more commonly known as the Chinese Exclusion Act, enacted in 1923, my mother was unable to come to Canada until after this discriminatory legislation was repealed in 1947. My mom finally arrived in Canada in 1952. 1954, they had a momentous arrival. Me. My parents settled in the small village of Newcastle, made it their home. And I can say Newcastle was a warm and welcoming home for my parents and the family. They operated a small business, and I had a front row seat to witness how hard they worked each and every day to provide for their family. And I never once heard my parents complain. They were incredibly proud when they became Canadian citizens. And their story is one that is deeply personal and meaningful to me. This motion is special. I feel strongly about recognizing this piece of history about the Chinese community, numbering now 1.8 million persons, and whose history in Canada predates Confederation, and who, I should say, through that time helped build Canada, this country, coast to coast. Canada's great strength lies in its diversity, in our ability to celebrate different cultures and to acknowledge our history through a lens that is not always flattering, but one that allows us to learn, grow, and do better. The reason why we recognize and reflect upon these experiences is very important to ensure we continue building a country rooted in respect, inclusion, and opportunity for all. And I am proud that I can say that be part of this diverse council here and this respectful staff that we do have that support us. I am a proud Canadian. I tend to say at the moment I am supporting the Montreal Canadiens too. And I'm equally proud of my Chinese heritage. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Wu, for allowing me to second. Thank you, Mayor Foster, for allowing me to second. My mom would not forgive me if I didn't second this. I couldn't have said it better than what Councillor Wu said. I mean, there's a lot of history regarding the Chinese Canadians being one of the first and only groups that there was actually like legislation permitting racism towards one specific group. We've since gone miles or kilometers since then, but I think there's still much we can do, and acknowledging the contributions of Canadian Chinese across Canada would be a fantastic first step. Selfishly, I also hope that through the passing of this motion, we will finally get a pretty decent Chinese restaurant in Durham Region, Chair. It's something we don't have. And yeah, that'll be a campaign of promise of Willie and I's to get some decent Chinese food here. But that, no, I'm saying, yeah, fully support, and thank you, Councillor Wu, for bringing this forward.
So thank you. Councillor Wu, you want to call for a recorded vote? Yes, please. Okay, Mr. Clerk, record a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on the motion is starting now.
That's unanimous, all members present. Members of council, we have a fairly long list of correspondence. I know that there is lunch in the back room. I'd like to do a working lunch, but I can't have everybody leave at once. Councillor Chapman.
We're talking about the correspondence now. I'll move the recommendations for both correspondence.
Oh, okay, we'll deal with correspondence. Move to, we need a seconder? Okay, seconded by Councillor Brenner. On correspondence, seeing no hands, call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. So we do have a number of reports. I'm prepared to take a consent agenda if that works. Consent agenda, moving items 7.1 to 7.8, excluding 7.7, moved by Mayor Collier, seconded by Mayor Watton. Pulse. Mayor Foster?
Yeah, I'd like to speak very briefly to 7.4 and 7.5.
Okay. Councillor Lee?
7.4, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the remainder, excluding 7.4 and 7.5, all those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Mayor Foster, on 7.4, I'll go to you first.
So thank you. On 7.4, so you've identified opportunities, but I didn't see a clear path forward in terms of what we're going to be doing. So, you know, I appreciate that there are limited sponsorship opportunities, but there are a few. Did I miss that while I was reading it?
Thank you. I'll go to the Commissioner. Ms. Austin?
Thank you, and through the chair. Yes, you're correct, Mayor Foster. We have noted that there are limited opportunities. If council would like to direct staff to pursue setting up a program to further investigate and take advantage of some of these opportunities, we would be happy to do that, of course. We would bring it forward as part of the 2027 budget process.
Okay, so the time would be to direct you to do that. I'll be curious to hear other thoughts. The dollars are likely minimal. The advice that, and Clarington has just embarked on this, has always been get someone who knows what they are doing to do it. So thank you for that answer.
So it's been accepted as direction to staff. Okay. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff, for bringing forth this report. I guess my first question is, you know, to Mayor Foster's point, the report kind of says there aren't a ton of advertising or sponsorship opportunities. Have we ever assessed the total value of all our assets to what we can market? So it's just like, what do we have exactly? Like, what is the total value that we assess all our assets to be?
I'll go to the Commissioner.
Well, thank you, and through the chair. Well, someone else might give you the total value of all of our assets. What I can tell you, Councillor Lee, is that we have thought about, and we've done some preliminary modeling on the potential value for advertising and sponsoring some of our existing assets. So very conservatively, we're anticipating about $300,000 a year. If we were to be incredibly optimistic, we could maybe stretch it over $1 million, but somewhere in between the two. So that would be a combination of fleet advertising. We're looking at what we currently have with respect to Bus Rapid Transit and Durham Region Transit and potential naming facilities. So we have taken a pretty wide-ranging view of our existing assets and what might be eligible for some advertising and sponsorships, carving out some obvious exclusions.
Thank you.
Councillor Lee, I'm just going to get some clarification from me on your question. Are you asking for the total market value of regional assets? Is that what you're asking for?
In a sense, like we did an analysis, and $300,000 was the annual fee we got of basically like in a sense, the report says based on everything the region has, whether it's a bus, building, road, etc., that our marketing assets are in a sense worth $300,000, right? And that's off previous comparators of other Canadian municipalities. I guess the initial intent of this motion when I first brought it was that there's a lot of U.S. models right now, and I understand that we're not necessarily adopting U.S. businesses where there are third parties that will, in a sense, sell an entire municipality and all its net assets as a full, complete package to sponsors. And that's why I thought the number of 300,000 was low. You know, I think if we follow the traditional model that other Canadian municipalities have used, then yeah, it's generally pretty conservative. But like, you know, we are talking about a possible 10-year advancement of capital for the police. Are we examining every opportunity to name every room in that police station, wherever it may be? Are we examining every opportunity to put signs on roads that we can? And I guess, listen, I don't necessarily want the municipality littered in advertisements, but in a time where we are facing the hardest financial crunch this region's ever faced, we need to be creative in looking for these outside dollars. And so that's why I was hoping for, in a sense, a more ambitious approach, like engaging a third party that can sell advertising for us, and they take a percentage of ad buys. Because yeah, you know, 300,000 is great, but I truly think with the geography alone of regional assets, like there must be more opportunity. Again, maybe I'm wrong, and I fully accept that. But I also just think like it's something no one's ever really tried it really in the Canadian market, that I really think Durham is set to position itself innovatively to try this.
Commissioner, could you put your team's mind to this and possibly bring back something to the next committee of the whole meeting?
We certainly can. In the interim, I do believe the Commissioner of Finance does have a figure of the full replacement value of our assets, if that's something the councillor is interested in.
I'm interested. I'll go to our commissioner.
So through the chair, so this is based on the asset management report from 2025. We're just in the process of updating that report for council, and you'll be receiving it at next month. But based on last year's report, the replacement value for all of our physical assets was $24.4 billion.
And if we were to slap a logo on all of that, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just, again, and we as a regional council have to decide how far we are willing to go with this. But right now, I think, and right now there's probably a lull in the advertising world. I understand that as well. But I'm trying to think more ambitiously and broadly to the potential of just like, typically, yeah, we go to a developer, they slap the name on a building for 10 years and that's it. But like, what if we're marketing all our assets? I think there's an opportunity there that isn't being considered. So if we are sending this back to staff, Chair, I would want to possibly engage third parties. You know, they would get a cut of ad sales, we would get the bulk of it, just to see if there is the potential that I believe there is.
So we've asked the commissioners to come back, a letter, come back next month if possible. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I just imagining in my head while I'm sitting here what the names of some of our facilities could have on them related to the services.
And again, agreed. It could be the Tostitos water treatment plant, right? But at the end of the day, though, I don't think our residents care if it means absorbing those costs. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Roy.
So I would also ask that if you could take a look at what's happening in local municipalities and how our sponsorship is taking place, because we within Whitby have been very successful. But not only our success has been through local residents and supports for new recreational facilities, but local small businesses have actually been stepping up as well too, from our car dealerships. And we have had quite the uptake, including our new recreational facility of 1.5 million. And I know that Mayor Ash has had quite the success within his community. I think we take a look at what is happening in local communities. You may not need to go to third party, but that the individual that's internal within your organization may actually pay for themselves by looking at how they can offer up and meet up. But I also think around the table, it's for ourselves to open up these doors of conversations and solidifying what sponsorship could look like. Because I do believe that even we look at health and social services, I think people would step up to give support there as well too.
Okay, thank you. That exhausts the speakers list on the item. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Item 7.5, Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will once again take the opportunity to commend staff on what they're doing on this file, the nuclear file. In the very recent past, our ability or the nature of the comments that we would make on these files was very superficial. So Caitlin, thank you for that. Just, very briefly on this one, looking at Wesleyville, massive build. Durham's border is a kilometer away, and Durham was initially not even considered. And there may in fact be some impacts. So again, Caitlin and whoever else was involved in this and the other reports, this is excellent work and is helping to make sure that the concerns of the residents of Durham Region and the interests of the residents of Durham Region are being taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that exhausts the speakers list. Members of council, on reports 7.5, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Mr. Clerk, the last piece of business would be 8.1. It's a motion regarding property tax subclass for live music. Moved by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Mayor Ash. Mayor Ash? You're good? Okay. Councillor Kerr, it's your motion. You go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can we put this up on the screen just in case somebody hasn't had the opportunity to read the motion? So it's extensive, but I wanted to make sure the detail was there. Moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Ash, that whereas the City of Toronto has received provincial approval for and enacted a property tax subclass for live music venues and the arts sector, which provides a discounted property tax for eligible properties upon successful completion of a municipally approved application process. And whereas the City of Toronto is a single-tier municipality, but operates under the City of Toronto Act 2006, which is separate and apart from the Municipal Act 2001, which governs the operations of the other 443 municipalities in Ontario. And whereas Oshawa has just been nominated in the finals across Canada for the Live Music City designation, along with Toronto, Halifax, Calgary, and several others, and whereas Oshawa's music community is an integral part of Durham's vibrant music community, and whereas live music venues and the arts sector venues in total are a strong economic driver not only for Oshawa's downtown, but also every municipality in Durham Region. And whereas according to the music industry analysis commissioned by the region of Durham, there are 469 music industry assets across Durham Region, with assets present in all 8 municipalities. And whereas the Durham music industry generated $162 million in gross domestic product, contributed $110 million in labor income, and supported 4,895 full-time equivalent jobs in 2023. And whereas there are 125 spaces and venues in Durham to attend live music, including 45 live music venues and 12 formal music venues. And whereas the music industry analysis identified various areas of support needed to grow the sector, including policy and support, music forward space, and funding. And whereas an action in the region's economic development strategy, Ready, Set, Future, is to enable growth in the music industry through the development of a strategy to become a music region. And whereas the City of Toronto has recognized the strong economic impact of the arts sector in general and its live music venues in particular, through the implementation of a dedicated property tax subclass providing a discounted tax rate. And whereas an upper tier municipality, such as the regional municipality of Durham, in a 2-tiered municipal structure can request specific authority to implement such a property tax subclass from the province, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Commissioner of Finance be directed to report back to Regional Council in Q1 2027 with a report on a made in Durham version of the property tax subclass, providing a reduced tax rate for the arts sector as currently in successful use in the City of Toronto, including details on implementation considerations, timing, and an assessment of any provincial or regulatory amendments that would be required to enable such a subclass, and that such direction does not constitute council approval at this time. It's lengthy, but I think it spells it out. The only thing I would like to add, if I may, Mr. Chair, is I've worked on this really in depth with the music industry professionals in Durham Region through Eileen Kennedy of our Economic Development Department here at the region. And this has arisen out of discussions with the music industry over various seminars and development seminars that have been conducted over the last couple of years. There's a huge amount of support for this. I think it's necessary. I think we have a burgeoning music industry. And as I say, it has been identified as a priority. I would really like to see full support for this. It's not going to be a short-term deal. It's going to have to be negotiated and worked through, be a public input process. There'll be work with the province to how we can get this through. But it's very much needed to support this industry, and I ask for your full support today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Ash? I'm fine. Members of council? Seeing no hands?
Could I have a recorded vote, please?
Absolutely. Record a vote by Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on the motion is starting now.
Thank you, council, for your unanimous support.
Carries unanimously by all members present. There are no confidential matters. Mayor Foster, you had come up to me earlier with asking to speak on an issue.
Mr. Chair, thank you, and thank you for the ability to speak on this. Not on the agenda. For information to members of Durham Region, I want to note on Monday, we had Mr. Jaganathan addressing an issue at Clarington. I think it was around midnight when you hung around virtually for an extended period of time. To my mind, you were treated very unfairly by one member of council. So one, I would like to very publicly apologize for that. That should have been recognized Monday night. It was not. I thank you for your expertise. I thank you for your efforts at trying to debunk, as I understand it, the issue is an exceptionally simple issue that was made exceptionally complicated. But again, please accept my apologies for the way that you were treated, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. Mr. Clerk, that is the business of the day. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, and thank you for doing that, Mayor Foster. And I happened to chair that meeting, and that behavior, well, I shouldn't say I should be surprised, but it completely threw me for a loop. It took me by surprise. I do apologize as well. I spoke to Mr. Jaganathan and apologized to him for the behavior of one individual, and I don't know to what end people behave in such manner, but I guess they know more than I do why they behave that way, and hopefully so. Please do accept my apologies too, and that's on behalf of the rest of council, or most of council. It's not a common thing. It's usually one individual. So again, I share Mayor Foster's apologies. Thank you.
So thank you for your comments, gentlemen. That, Mr. Clerk, is the business of the day. So the only thing left would be adjournment. So Councillor Pickles, move adjournment, seconded by Mayor Barton. On adjournment, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, have a wonderful day, members of council and staff.